Hey boys and girls, if you don't know me, my name is Mr. Allen. I'm going to be your science teacher this year, and we are going to start off with the unit weather, okay? And there's a few things I'm going to go over with you with this slideshow right here. I'm going to make sure everything's okay. All right, that looks good. We're just going to go over some basics. We are going to be starting with a water cycle this week, but I just want to go over a few of these things with you real quick, just so you understand how this weather is going to start working. Now, if you look at these two pictures right here, this is a picture of the Earth, obviously from outer space. And you can see Africa right here, and you can see the United States, North America right there. What are the two things that you see that dominate the landscape of both of these Earths, okay? Don't just sit back and look real quickly. And remember, the white things are clouds. And what are clouds made of? All right, so what are the two things you see mainly? All right, if you said land, land is one of them, and obviously water is the other. All right, now these two are on the surface of our Earth. They dominate our landscape. Now when we get into the inside of the Earth, obviously things change a little bit. These are the two things that we can see. They're very pivotal in making the weather, okay? And I'm gonna explain it to you in the next couple of days of why they're so important for the weather to be made. Because one of these guys stays still and one of the other ones, it moves constantly, okay? And that's gonna be one of the things we're gonna talk a great deal about in the next few days. So land and water are the two things on the surface of our Earth that we can see, and it drives the weather quite dramatically, actually. Okay, now I got northern and I got southern. Okay, and this is obviously another picture of the Earth. You can see you got land here, land here, land here. Obviously, these great oceans: Southern Ocean, Atlantic, the Pacific. We got a few others, Indian. And the reason I put this up here is because we're going to talk a little bit about this. Right through the center of the Earth is going to be an imaginary line. And this imaginary line is called the what? Does anybody know? The equator, okay? Now the equator basically splits the Earth in half. So you got half a beach ball at the top, half a beach ball at the bottom. And then these two guys are going to be categorized as the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, okay? So this top one is going to be the northern hemisphere. And this down here is obviously going to be the southern. Okay? Now, we're in the northern hemisphere. We're about right there. Okay? So we live in the northern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere we're going to talk quite a bit about in the next few weeks. Okay? Now with this equator being right here, this is the hottest part of the Earth as far as being on top of the Earth. There are hotter spots inside the Earth. So this spot is really, really hot. You get down here and up here to the poles, and what's the weather going to be like up here and down here? It's going to be extremely cold. Okay, and this is going to be another factor that drives the weather. Okay, and I'm going to explain it to you later. You don't have to know right now. I just want to make sure that you remember that that imaginary line going across and splitting the Earth in half is called the equator. And it is the hottest spot on Earth, okay? As long as you're not up on top of a mountain, as long as you're at sea level, this is gonna be your hot spot. To the north of the equator is gonna be the northern hemisphere. To the south of the equator is gonna be the southern hemisphere, okay? Now, what makes the equator so hot? What makes all the weather happen? Well, I'm getting ready to show you. This guy right here. All right, it's not the best picture in the world, but this is actually a real picture of what makes our weather and makes us go through these changes in weather, and that is going to be the sun. The sun drives the earth. It is the engine. It gives us the energy in order for things to happen. It grows our crops. It makes weather. It heats us up. It gives us light. It gives us the ability to breathe because it grows plants. So this is the one thing that we must have on earth for us to have weather, okay? And we're going to talk an awful lot about it because we're going to start off this year with the water cycle this week. And this guy right here is the one thing that makes the water cycle go through its processes. And we're going to talk all about it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I hope that y'all have a good first day. And I'm going to give you like 5 questions on what we just went over. And then we'll continue with the water cycle tomorrow, okay? And we'll start it off. It's going to be a little bit more difficult than you guys probably remember. We're going to go through all the variations of why this happens, not just the names of the stuff. And we got to go through why it happens and how the sun affects all these things, okay? Hope you have a good first day, and we'll see you tomorrow.